I run and run, trying to remember which direction I have taken last, but it's all blind panic. I trip and sprawl and get up again, and I run, the taste of salt in my mouth and my breath like fire. I don't know which way to go. Is there any way to go? I call her name again. Daisy! And I can't stand still to listen for an answer. I throw myself at the huge woven barriers and slash at them, but I can only cut through 1 or 2 layers, and the wicker is too thick for my strength. It yields, but there's always more behind. So I run like a hunted deer, jumping and turning and panting. I throw myself down narrow places and I start to believe I'm in a bad dream. I'm being funneled into an ending, like a bird caught in a woven trap. The kind of traps that Ned used to make, the ones that gave him his proper name. I would watch as he eased them out of the bushes with the little shapes flapping madly in the narrow end of the basket, and I would wonder why the birds never learned. I'm like a trapped thing now, thrumming and beating in a tangle of stuff I have no power over. Soon they'll catch me, and then there's no hope of finding Daisy. It will be the end. I can't let it be the end. I gather myself and run down a narrow path that ends in a wall where I can go either left or right. I haven't been in this place before. I go right. The path opens into a space with gaps leading off in all directions. In the distance, I hear a child scream. I sink to my knees and tear at my hair. After a moment, I realise that I'm screaming too. Then a wolf walks into the space, and everything is suddenly so quiet. The Sky Machine by Martin Lidderment, performed by Phoebe Lawrence. Season 2, Chapter 3, A Bad Place. Ash was right, Mum, when she said that our old knife wouldn't have cut Net's bonds. When I climbed onto the old man's stony knees, I could reach up and touch the ropes. They were glittery as a minnow, but very strong like tree roots. Thin like cobwebs or the breath of the wind made into twine. Net looked down at me, his eyes pleading. He didn't speak for fear of the guards. I shook my head and told him that they had gone. "Hold your hands out," I said, and he obeyed. I slipped the blade of the knife that Ash had given me under the bindings, and the edge cut and the cord snapped away. I could see that they had bitten into Net's wrists. Drops of blood were trickling over his palms and fingers. I wondered what they had been made from. What plant or beast had given up fibres of such strength? I helped him down from the rough seat where he had been cradled by the old man, and we half sat, half fell by the remains of the fire. I drew him to me and held him. He felt strangely warm, as though the heat from the embers had entered his body. I couldn't think of anything good to say. Net must have felt the same, and so we sat there, wasting precious time while the stars turned above us and the fire burned down to a dull red. The moon was like a fingernail pressed into the sky. "Listen," I said. "There's food here, somewhere. You must take it and go. Ash said so." "Ash?" he began, but I put a finger to his lips. "Hush," I said. "Let's find the food. There's water too. Then you must go, quickly, little brother." "New man. Meet up with me at the fingers. That'll be far enough. Now, no more words." We scurried about and discovered the food and water in a hollow in the cliff. There wasn't much, but it would keep him on his feet until he found something to catch. He pulled the spear from the bear and hefted it. I had never seen him handle a weapon before. Then he looked at me, and though he seemed to have doubt in his heart, pride sat there too. To my mind, he held himself a little straighter than before. "They only tied one of his feet," he said, looking at the dead bear. It came at me. I held the spear and I did it by myself. No one helped me." He turned then, as Ash had done, and was away and down the path. So what next, Mum? Net was free, but now I had to get back inside the village. I went down the path a little way until I got to a spot where there were some stunted thorn trees, and I tore a branch off one. I returned to the old man and swept the ground clear of footprints and any clumps of blood and dirt that remained. I pushed the branch deep into the fire and twisted it to make it burn. After that, I climbed round the edge of the clearing, keeping on the rocks, until I could drop down onto the stones of the path. From there, I went backwards on hands and knees. When I got to the valley bottom, there were enough trails crossing and merging for me to go more quickly, and I raced back to the wood outside the village and climbed a tree. Then I waited. The men woke me up when they came running at sunrise, scrambling down from the rocky place. They yelled for Berry to come out. The gate was flung open, and here came the whole village, in a disorderly stream of folk, shouting and asking questions. There was such a hubbub that Berry had to go amongst them and scream at them to make herself heard. And while that was happening, I got down from my tree and crept to the far edge of the wood where it was nearest to the fence. From there, I made a dash in a half circle to come up behind the last of the people who were emerging from the gate. It was a very risky business, and I ran almost crouched over for fear of being spotted, but there was so much movement and general confusion that I think I might have just walked through it all and no one would have noticed. Now it was time to play the frightened sister. I headed for the middle of the crowd. "Where is he?" I shouted. I said it over and over. "Where's my brother? What have you done with him?" I spotted Hook and flew at him, landing on his back and digging my nails into his neck. "Ah!" he shouted and tried to grab me, but I let go and kicked him from behind. "You've killed him!" I screamed. "You made him go up there and you killed him!" Berry cursed and hauled me away. She finally managed to quieten the crowd, and then she called Hook over to her. We all formed a circle around them. Hook beckoned one of the men, and he approached and held out the stuff that had bound Net's wrists. Berry took the cut ends and looked down at them. Yarrow went to her side and stared as well. She turned to me, and there was such a look on her face, Mum, that my heart was squeezed. It was a look of hurt, like I had betrayed her in some way. But she said nothing, and I just kept up the sobbing for my lost brother. "I can send men if you want," said Hook to Berry. "What are you going to do if you find him?" I yelled. "Hurt him? Kill him? What do you want him to do now?" Yarrow took a half step towards me, but Berry held her hand up to stop her. "I know you think you and your family are exceptional, Gilly," she said. "And it's true, we need you as our weather watcher on the journey. But the truth is, your brother was always going to set himself apart, no matter what we did for him. He wasn't in any great danger. Ash was there. She had even bound him. Imagine a server doing that for him. It should have been a wonderful moment for Net, one that he would be proud to remember. Now, it's always going to be a memory of running away. But as for his breaking free of the old man, how do you think he managed that?" "I don't understand," I wailed. "I don't know what you mean. I don't know what you're talking about. I want Net back. We need him." Daisy ran to my side and threw her arms around my waist. "I want Net back," she cried. I don't know if she was genuinely scared or just copying me, but it looked real enough. Berry gave me a good, hard stare and shook her head. "Well," she said, "he's gone. Let him go. To the wilderness or to the gods, it doesn't matter. We can't delay the journey. Gilly, stop Daisy making that noise. Keep your grief behind the door of your house. Yarrow, gather all the rest who are going. Tell them to get their belongings. We start now." So in the end, it was that difficult and that easy at the same time, Mum. Berry and Yarrow got all us travellers together and we said our goodbyes to the ones who were staying, and then we trudged out of the village when the sun was at its highest. We were loaded down with our provisions, and with half the number of men we had hoped for, because so many had to stay to help with Hardfist's mound. Berry came with us, striding along at our head. Hook and his handful of men scouted wide through the hot, dusty grass. Yarrow brought up the rear of our line, encouraging the children who were walking, and joking with some of the younger men when they came back for a beaker of water. Daisy walked beside me, in a new tunic, holding my hand. She looked a question at me once, and I winked at her. She smiled and gave a bit of a skip. We passed out of our valley and onto the plains. In the distance, we could see the line of dust being combed up under the feet of another tribe. Probably the Eagles. They were the biggest group and had left before us. They followed their own route, as did we. Staying split up on the journey was safer. We were heading towards raider country. By taking different paths, an enemy could only attack one group at a time, giving the others a chance to get away. Ash would likely be with the Eagles. I imagined her striding ahead. On and on we walked, seeing no signs of danger all that day and into the next. It wasn't long before people were singing as they walked. When we made camp, the children would play and run round the fire, but the men prowled the edge of the light, always looking out, hands on their weapons, never truly relaxing. Yarrow cast flat stones into the flames, and in the morning looked at the colours the stag had left on them. She said we were safe to keep pushing on. I read the clouds in the air. The rains held off for now, but I knew they would come eventually. Berry and Hook kept everyone to the pace. The grasses and the trees were dusty and the heat baked and cracked the earth. The men took every opportunity to replenish our water, and we praised them when they returned with the swollen skins. Yarrow held her hands over them and blessed them in the names of the pike. 5 days into the journey, we came to the feet of the Spine, that winding line of hills and ridges that stretch up towards the first sacred places. Do you believe it? I asked Yarrow. That the new gods watch us from the top of the highest peaks? I hoped that some talking would close the wound. Yarrow sniffed and spat. Can you see them? She sneered. Has anyone seen them but the servers? You don't believe it then? I asked. A keeper doesn't believe anything, Gilly, replied Yarrow. We feel and we know deep in the bone. We know the old gods and we nourish them with the warmth of our blood and our breath. Berry knows them. Hook knows the ones that live in the men. You know the ones that make the sky move. Daisy knows the ones that make her laugh. Your outcast brother knew them when he ran the spear into that bear. Oh yes, I saw it in his eyes. The old gods are strong. Leave the new gods and their clever ways to the servers and keep your eyes on the sky. Still angry at me then? Net had been her task. She had wanted to guide our boy into manhood. The keepers lead us into the world, through life, and out into the other place. It's their power and their right. Yarrow was young and needed to stretch out and feel her green strength, and Net had been a part of that. Well, I don't care, Mum. I don't care. We're going to get to the Great Wall and the other place, and we're going to be fine. All of us. We'll have such a good natter. 10 days out from the valley, and here we are, in the broken places around the foothills. The ground is cut by little rills and brooks that have led us into swampy territory. We're staggering along, Mum. Sorry if it's uncomfortable. I'm doing the best I can, keeping your putt upright and you covered over to keep the wind off you. Daisy is alright. What, Daisy? She says she's thought of her 3 questions already. Don't be in such a rush, Daisy. You need to think really hard about what you want to ask Granny. No silly words, alright? We talked about it. You have to be very, very serious. This is hard work, and the way these channels run, we're being pushed towards a ravine. I don't like the look of it, Mum. It's got an unnatural feel to it. The whole lean of the land is inwards, the sky is crook-backed over us, and the trees are askew as well. They're ushering us along with their branches and twigs. Their leaves are full and fat, but some are blowing off in the mountain wind, and they sting where they strike our skin. Hook and the men are on edge. They're stopping us every time they hear a sound. Raiders! They've fallen on us, jumping from the rocks above! Arrows! Arrows! Run, Daisy! No, this way! Daisy! Let go and run further into the ravine, Daisy! Run faster! No, not back the way we came. It isn't the right way to go. We have to go up. It's getting darker and the raiders want us on flatter ground. The cries and shouts fall behind us. Daisy and I scramble on, but she's too slow. Hang on, Daisy, we've got to keep going. Maybe we can start to climb up. There might be a... What's this? It's like a woven fence, only it's so tall I couldn't reach the top if I was twice as big as I am. Look, Daisy, there's a way through. Fences after fences after fences, going different ways, joined up like walls round a sheep pen and appearing one after the other. I can't find a way out of them. We're getting lost. An arrow screams over the top of the fences and thuds into the soil at my ankle. I jerk away, yelling, and run down a long green path. Gaps and turnings pull me and I twist here and there, darting in and out of spaces. There's still a faint howling and baying behind us. We're scattered. Then I look round, but I can't see Daisy. Terror possesses me utterly, freezes me to the core of my body. I run, but I can't feel my limbs. I might be breathing, or I might be filled with dust. I can't tell. Something rubs against my foot and I look down. It's the arrow that nearly hit me. I've gone in a circle. Are the new gods watching this? The gods that Ash serves? If they're up there on their hill, why don't they reach down and stop this? We weren't hurting anyone, we were just going on the journey. All the world makes a journey, except the hunters. We've been unlucky. Today, we've become the animals in the trap. I run again. More barriers. I've got to stop. Stop. Gilly, think. Think. You went left, and then straight on, and then right. Oh, I think so, but I can't remember anything properly. Mum, where are we? What sort of place is this? Who makes something like this? I hear a child scream, and then I am screaming too. Is this what the end feels like? Wait. All sounds have stopped. No more cries and no more screams. My arms ache from trying to force a way through this trap. My mouth tastes salty and I have a spear through my insides that is Daisy's name and face and little soft hands and feet. There's no right way to go, but I must find the right way because she'll be at the end of it. And now I have stumbled into an empty space in the middle of this horror. I'm on my knees, Mum. Where did I leave you and where's Daisy? You're as silent as always, watching from the other place, but not able to say anything to me. Will we talk much sooner than I thought? Will you be angry with me? Mad because I've lost Daisy? Angry about Net? Yarrow, Berry, Hook, the others all disappointed? If they're alive? I should have done better. I have duties, responsibilities. I don't want to go to the other place carrying all those deaths, bearing so many people's anger. I hear footsteps in the silence. The light and shadows move and seem to shift. I look up. A wolf stands before me, upright on his rear legs, holding an axe. The Sky Machine is written by Martin Liddeman and performed by Phoebe Lawrence. Music by Purple Planet Music, Daniel Birch and the Pangolins. Special thanks to Stratford Youth Theatre, which provides high quality drama workshops for children and young people in and around Stratford-upon-Avon. If you enjoyed this podcast, you can listen to the first season at skymachine.podbean.com or search for Sky Machine on any of the major podcast platforms.